Hi, guys. Hello. Hi. This is very impromptu, and I gotta say, I don't know how long this is gonna last. This new body cam video is very long, and it's also very heartbreaking. And I haven't really done a live stream this week, so I figured I should check in with you guys. And I was like, okay, this would be a good topic to do it on, just because we can kind of talk about things as we see them. I shared several clips of this on my Instagram. If you haven't shared it, or if you haven't seen my Instagram, or on my YouTube, my Instagram and my Facebook. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's Without a Crystal Ball. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Without a Crystal Ball. This is a incredibly impromptu. And so I don't know who's still awake. It's late. There was a couple things on this dash cam video, or the body cam video, that I thought was kind of perplexing and really, really sad. And just totally, it's been an overwhelming couple weeks covering this story. And I don't know about you, as you continue to get more details about everything that happened on this trip between these two, you start to really feel for the stress that must have existed between them. Me and them and you and all of that. So how am I doing? I don't know. I'm okay. I mean, I'm doing way better than the Petito family and the Schmidts. So my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to Nicole and to Joseph and to their spouses. It's tough because there is so much here that is so much unanswered, right? Like, the memorial last week was so overwhelming. So many people went, and they said they paid their last respects to Gabby. And I haven't gone live at all today. No, I've uploaded, but no lives. But thanks. Some notifications, but no. Generally, if people are like subscribed and they have all the notifications turned on, it shouldn't affect it. So it's been a really, I have to mix up the content on this channel. Like, I really enjoy doing stories that are complex and cases that are multifaceted and have a lot of different layers, and that will require me to be challenged and to provide a balanced thought to it. And then it's like, you have to mix that kind of content with stuff that's just lighter. And that's the challenge in all of this, is that there's this case, and then I am also doing the Josh Duggar case, which is also incredibly heavy. So it's a lot. But the memorial for Gabby was very, very like emotional. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch Joseph Petito and her stepfather talk about Gabby. And, I feel for them. And then I watched their press conference, and I was just like so heartbroken for them. And then I was so inspired that they're hoping to do something really positive in this. And JB, I don't know who JB is. JB kind of off in his... Oh, JB from WFLA. I did not watch them very much today. I saw a little bit of their live stream when Brian Enton was on there. I will say, I think that the longer you cover something, it does affect you emotionally. And I think that's not easy for anyone, because everyone's trying to stay as diligent on the story as possible. And then you just we're at a point right now that everyone wants justice and Brian hasn't been caught. And I think that in and of itself creates massive frustration. And they were super short with their stream. Were they? I didn't really watch it. I feel like some of these guys are maybe getting a little bit burnt out. You know, it's hard. And I think there is a JB and Josh yesterday, I think got a little bit spooked by what was going on with the stuff with Dog. Like, you could tell that JB wanted to go live, but the network was saying, like, we can't go live. And I think there has been something happened today, because yesterday Dog the bounty hunter was all over the place and he found Brian and he was confident that he had found Brian and he was on these islands and he was going to capture him. And he like really sold this, like, I'm going there and I'm going to get him. And then, you know, I think that caused so much confusion for so many reporters. And I think Dog's entrance into this has created a lot of chaos, not because he wants to find Brian, but it's hard when you have an official investigation. And then as the reporter, you want to maintain the integrity of that investigation, because it's important for the FBI that investigation not be hindered. And so it's, you know, you want to, I don't know. I think Dog ends up confusing people. And I think people don't understand how serious the investigation is. It's so much different than like going someone that's jumping bail on like a shoplifting charge. You know, it's so different. And then this morning, this like article comes out and it says that he's trying to shop like the Variety puts out that he's shopping like a reality TV show with Think Factory. Think Factory is the production company that puts out a lot of the shows on WeTV. And he's apparently trying to like shop a reality show. And I think the struggle with that is that this is not a reality show. This is real life. And this investigation is not entertainment. It's not for somebody else's entertainment. It's not going on a hunt and finding clues and then, you know, littering your Twitter with these tiny little tidbits to get people to click on to the next thing. And you start to realize that, like, you know, as Fox was releasing that kind of stuff yesterday, I was feeling really confused because I was like, okay, if you are really serious about catching him and if you're really serious about wanting to find him, this production, it's confusing. It's making people feel like they're going to be able to get it. No, he actually doesn't have a show right now. His show was canceled, and they actually axed it before it was ever even started. He's trying to apparently get it. He doesn't have a show coming out right now. He's shopping one. That's what Variety said. The last show that he had was canceled. It's not happening. It was going to be on Unleashed, and it's not happening. So, I think maybe the FBI has maybe talked to Dog to potentially back off a little bit. I think it's tricky because this is an FBI investigation and it's an active investigation. It's very different than one where the jury has already spoken. He went and got Andrew Luster after Andrew Luster had been convicted. This is not a case where Brian has been convicted. they're still trying to build their case against Brian. And they don't want anyone to hamper the ability for any sort of evidence to be destroyed. So destruction of evidence is a huge component, and the FBI hates destruction of evidence. The FBI also hates spooking suspects. The FBI doesn't like to make a suspect believe that they're onto them, that they know where they are. Because if a suspect knows where someone, that the FBI is coming, and if a suspect can feel them coming, they are likely to do really unpredictable things. They will destroy evidence. They will potentially harm themselves. They will potentially harm somebody else. And they don't want, if Brian's alive, the last thing they want is for Brian to hurt himself. They don't want Brian, if Brian's alive, to destroy evidence. And they also don't want Brian to hurt anybody else. So, yeah, so this isn't about liking dog and not liking dog. It's really just trying to, for me personally, respect the authority of the FBI. That's what it comes down to for me, like respecting the process, as hard as that is, and respecting that we don't know what they know. And because we don't know, and because I know that they have a very good success rate with convictions, and they have a very high success rate with conviction rates. Once a federal case goes to court, it's over 92% are convicted, and that's for a reason. So I think it's the severity of this situation, the fact that it hasn't been prosecuted yet, the fact that they're still collecting evidence, the fact that they haven't completed the autopsy hasn't been fully completed. We don't know the cause and of what happened to her. They haven't yet determined who and what was involved. And it just creates this chaos when somebody else is trying to get the guy, and that guy is trying to spook the guy out, and it could cause a lot of things. It could, if Brian was alive and he believed that dog was about to come and get him, he could kill himself. And the FBI doesn't want Brian to kill himself. If he's alive, they want to capture him alive. And that's kind of the situation. They also don't want him to destroy evidence. Yeah, conviction is a chess game, and the FBI knows how to set it up. Dog does not know how to set it up, a conviction. He just knows it's just not his place. Yeah. It's really just not his lane. His lane is not to do an investigation. And they could, and they might have, because Dog suddenly stopped talking today. He also put out a statement where he said that he wasn't going to, he put out a legalese statement basically saying that he wasn't going to interfere in the investigation, which I felt was him getting a sort of a nudge by the FBI, because there are serious, anyone that interferes in an open, ongoing investigation, it's called obstruction of justice. So even if he's not trying to prevent the crime, you want to make sure that you're not obstructing justice with what you're doing, right? So that's the key point here, is obstruction of justice. You don't want justice to be obstructed here. You don't. You want, if everyone really wants Gabby to receive justice, as hard as it is, you have to let the FBI do what they need to do. And it can't be done by somebody throwing out all the clues so that the wider public knows all the details. It's hard. Someone said this, the same thing happened with the John Bonet case, even though the police was focused on the parents. Video of Gabby Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're seeing all the sad news about Gabby in our news reports in Australia as well. Yeah, it's really sad. Why dog on this one out of a million of super public searches? Why? I think it has a lot of attention. He says it's because he lost his daughter at the same age. This is a very big case and it has a lot of media attention. And I think, you know, he was very quiet today. So I feel like, and then even Lisa said that her lips were sealed and that they were handing everything over to authorities. I don't know if someone from the authorities talked to them. I'm not sure. Yes, we're going to get there. They can stop him if he obstructs justice. He can investigate, but if he's doing so in a public way that can interfere with their investigation, they can absolutely tell him to stop. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. All right. So this is Officer Pratt, and Officer Pratt was the second officer. He was the one that I think was bald and had the goatee, and he was the one that was wearing his normal like police outfit, uniform outfit. He showed up on the scene. He's also had a conversation with the witness, and he spent the most time of any of them outside of the other female officer talking to Gabby. He was not the lead officer in this case. He was not the one that got to make decisions. I don't know which, the first body cam was the main officer. Yes, we can't have a bounty hunter saying and doing the wrong things in that moment. Correct. Yeah, I feel like if Dog wanted to do this privately and be more discreet about it, it would be fine. It's just the publicity of it is making it kind of a circus. Okay. So here is like their discussion with Gabby. He doesn't actually speak to Brian at all. Like, honestly, there's hardly any discussion here with Brian.
What's your name? Gabby, how old are you? What happened? What's going on?
I'm having a very stressful morning.
Yeah. Is this your husband or boyfriend?
My fiance.
Fiance? Is he a pretty good guy?
Yeah.
What happened over at Moonflower?
Well, I was just really stressed this morning trying to get a lot of work done, and I was apologizing to him. I had thrown a bunch of stuff in the bag, and all our bags are back there. I was just apologizing. I was like, I'm sorry that I get so stressed out because I OCD and I just like organizing stuff. And sometimes I just have a mean attitude, but I'm not trying to be mean about.
The one thing I notice here is like how escalated she is, like how overwhelmed she is, like how anxious she is, that she can't even like put together like a concrete thought. Like her anxiety is so high here. And I still, after watching this, don't really understand what happened.
Straightening things up and stuff, so I was just apologizing, but I guess I said it in like a mean tone, and he got really frustrated with me, and he locked me out of the car and told me to go take a breather, but I didn't want to take a breather, because I wanted to get going. We're out of water,
made you more upset.
Yeah,
It didn't help calm you. It made you more upset.
yeah.
So then what happened?
So our goal was to come here and come refill our water.
Are you guys living out of the van right now? On travels?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was just really.
So what happened after they locked you out? Until you take a breather?
Well, he walked away to go take his own breather, but I wanted to sit in the car because all my stuff was in the car. I had to put it on my bag. And I was working on something at the moment in the car. And
So I don't know if any of you guys have anxiety, and I am definitely not a mental health counselor, but I have anxiety. And like the way that she's describing this, it's like such high anxiety here. And like for me, and this is only for me, is when I'm having a panic attack, which I feel like is kind of what's going on here. She's like having a lot of anxiety, and I feel like she was very focused on her work and what she was doing, and she wanted to finish that. And I feel like whatever happened, she got interrupted, and that triggered the anxiety of her wanting to finish something and him not allowing her to finish that, her not wanting to leave her belongings. Maybe she was feeling safe there, and he's forcing her into a situation that's making her feel more anxious and not helping her anxiety. So what he wanted and what he thought would work for him to de-escalate himself is clearly not what would work for her to de-escalate herself. And I was watching this, I just kept thinking, like, why don't, yes, he was trying to control the situation for sure. Yeah, like he wanted her to do what he wanted her to do, regardless of whether or not it was what she needed or what she wanted. That's what I got out of it. And what she needed and what she wanted was to be at the van, to organize, because that was what was calming her down, and to do her work, which he was not allowing her to do. I wish they would have brought in someone with mental health training. I wish they would have brought in like a social worker. I wish something would have happened here where it wouldn't have been an arrest. I wish she would have had someone to talk to. You know, it could have been so different.
he told me to just relax for a second, and I didn't want to relax, so I got really mad. I don't need to be mad.
Yeah, it happens. Then what happened?
And I told him to drive to get water because I was thirsty.
Yeah? Is there something on your cheek here? Looks like, did you get...
Okay, so yeah, I feel like she's having like spinning thoughts where she's like, she's so emotional, she's so hyper focused, and then she's like trying to defend him, and she's trying to make sure that she doesn't implicate him, and it's so overwhelming. And this is actually where she talks about how he says to her, like, we have two witnesses that told us that this is what happened, and she actually what won't allow him to say that Brian had any part of this, which is sad because in situations like this, it's not uncommon at all for the person who's being abused to defend the person that's abusing them.
Did you get hit in the face? Kind of looks like something like hit you in the face. And then over on your arm, your shoulder, right here. That's new, huh? You have a new mark?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Did I see the other side of your face? So, what happened here and here?
I'm not sure. It was a... I was just trying to get in the back of the car and his backpack on the back.
So, the backpack got you? So, there's two people that came to us and told us that they saw him hit you. There's two people saying that they saw him punch you. We're just independent witnesses by Moonflower.
Well, to be honest, I didn't mean to be first.
Where'd you hit him?
I slapped him in the face.
You slapped him first? And then you saw his face?
He gets to shut up.
How many times did you slap?
I feel like the cop is not helping the situation either, because he's like firing so many questions at her so fast and not even allowing her the time to digest one question without him like asking her another rapid fire question. And like when you're already so escalated and so anxious, and someone's like not even gonna let you finish your sentence before asking you another question, it's like, how do they get the right story when she can't even respond? Like when he asked her like if she got hit, she was just like a deer in headlights. Like he gave her no time to think and compose herself. And really, like I feel like they needed to give her some time to like calm down and just like take a breath. Yeah, it's very aggressive questioning. I also don't like how the cop is like patronizing her. I don't like that he walked up and like immediately was like, "Hi, honey," like she was a little child. Like she was this little girl, like she couldn't possibly be an adult woman that had her own thoughts. And like the way that he is speaking to her, I feel like has almost put her into like this childlike, like he's a dad and she's a mom, like that he's trying to like get what he wants from her too.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what? He just grabbed you. Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you.
I guess, yeah, but I threw first.
Where did he hit you? No, don't worry, just be
He
honest.
like grabbed my face, like, I guess, he didn't like hit me in the face, like, he didn't like punch me in the face or anything.
Did he slap your face or what?
They ask so, I don't know, I haven't been interrogated, but they ask so many leading questions too. It's just really, really, really confusing to me why he's not like slowing down and just listening. I think the answer is at the police department to have a specialty unit who arrives up for situations that instead of training each individual officer. That might not be a bad idea, to be honest. Every time there's a DA call, they need a female officer there to talk to the female. Male officers never help, says Miss Quinn. Yeah, I feel like he's trying to like lead her into whatever decision he wants her to say. It's very awkward. It's overwhelming. And then put her in her situation. It makes it impossible for her to even form a thought. She does. She's got bruises on both of her arms. Like you can tell. And she also has a scratch. Like if you watch the first body cam video when she's outside, you can tell that she's got like a scratch down her face like this. And she says that it burns when she touches it.
Well, like, he like grabbed me like with his nail, and I guess that's why it looks, I definitely have a cut right here, so I can see the
Yeah.
texture it burns. But,
Okay. So has he been drinking?
no, we don't drink.
Okay. What was up with his driving? This officer said he hit a curb.
I
While you're driving?
he was driving.
While he was driving, you were hitting him?
Not a lot, but yeah.
Well, that was distracting him while he's driving? Are you
No, only for like a second. No, because I saw the light come on and I like kind of.
Did you already tell him all this?
I didn't get that far into it. She was hyperventilating.
She's saying that they don't drink, but at the point where you lit them up.
He looked big or anything. I was yelling at him, and then when he turned your lights on, I like got up on him like
So she's saying, "Why he hit the curb?" You said it was Gabby. I'm sorry, I don't know that. It was Gabby. You okay, Gabby? Do you have medication for anxiety you take?
It's so like intimidating to be a woman in the middle of a panic attack, and you've got two officers just sort of like staring at you, trying to get you to say what they want you to hear, what they want to hear. And she's trying to navigate this so that she doesn't get Brian in trouble, so she can find a way out of this. And she's blaming herself. And they're missing like every clue. The first time I heard this, I thought, oh, they're being empathetic. But now as I'm taking time to like listen here, I'm like, I just feel so horrible in this situation. And then they called the witness, and then the witness, like the witness in this case they changed their story. I hate that the parents have this as their last moment. The police failed her. I know, it's horrible.
Any medication for any?
Just do yoga.
Try to meditate stuff, but you tend to have a lot of anxiety and stress.
I have a lot of anxiety.
And what's his name? Is it Brian? Is he usually pretty patient with you?
Yeah.
You know, I know her dad said that she wasn't diagnosed with anything, but she keeps saying that she has anxiety and OCD, and I don't think she's lying. I honestly don't feel like Gabby's lying here. Maybe Gabby hasn't had the formal diagnosis yet, but if she's saying, I have a lot of anxiety, I have a lot of OCD, maybe she does, and she just hasn't had it treated yet. It's sad. Yeah, he did. He locked her out.
Like, it just makes me upset. I know that he definitely gets frustrated with me a lot because I have a lot of anxiety, and he definitely has anxiety too.
Well, that could be a bad combo if you both have anxiety. You know, I have anxiety too, and you know, my girlfriend's really, really calm, and she has a way of taking my anxiety and bringing it down. But my ex-wife, especially my ex-wife, I'm just sharing. I know it's a little personal, but to help you understand, we would feed off each other's anxiety and spot.
Or Brian has her convinced she does it to make her feel crazy. Maybe. Brian probably didn't. Brian did say to the cops that he would not take medication for his. But yeah. If I had a boyfriend like Brian, I would have anxiety too. I would too. He seemed very controlling.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how much I loved her. It may be bad for your soul. Just saying. I'm not telling you what to do with your life, but if you know you have anxiety, look at the situations you can get in. You know what I mean?
This is just really bad advice. Like, I understand he's trying to say to her that, like, you're in a bad relationship, and if you have anxiety and he has an anxiety, that you can't be in a relationship together. Two people having anxiety doesn't create domestic violence. It just doesn't. It's really ableist to say that just because two people have anxiety that they can't be in a relationship. They have to be treating it, and they have to be taking care of themselves. You know, Brian is a terrible person, but put in somebody else in the situation that isn't Brian, right? If two people have anxiety, they can still be in a relationship. It's just, you have to treat it. You have to take care of yourself. And saying that just because you have anxiety, you shouldn't be in a relationship with someone else that has anxiety, that just doesn't even make sense to me. It's also kind of outside their pay grade.
And we're not here to be mean to you or anything. Well, you know, there's a first time, and then it usually, we'll go see what Brian's saying, but I think you've heard everything now from,
Quick question, you said you were getting in the arm.
So here he is, and he calls the witness here. This is the witness.
Driver's seat, and she seemed like they were sort of squabbling over a phone. I want to say that he was trying to grab her phone, and I'm not sure exactly why. And then it seems like he had sort of blocked the one side of the van and sort of wasn't letting her in. And then the male was stepping into the driver's seat, and she was trying to get into the van, and he said something about why you need to know me, something like that. And I remember she sort of hit him a few times, and it wasn't like blood in the face, it was just kind of like two kids kind of fighting. It reminded me of very picture, I don't know, children sort of fighting. But there seemed like something was off, like a weird vibe. And yeah, eventually he's like, she crawled into the driver's seat, sort of like got into the vehicle over his lap, sort of forced her way in, I guess. And then they were in the car and they just drove away. So I wasn't sure what the nature of the argument was or what. It just seems like there was some sort of disagreement and some sort of like shutting. I don't know why she would have entered the driver's door. I thought that was strange. And yeah, so I thought about calling it in, but as soon as I walked up the car, there was another gentleman who was already calling it in. So I was like, oh, good on you. That seemed it off. I wasn't sure what to do in that situation, but that's what I saw. And if there's any other specific questions, I'm happy to try to answer.
Did you ever see the male strike the female?
I would say that I think I saw maybe a push or a shove, but not like a full-on punch in the face or anything.
Was the shove was the shove or push an aggression towards her, or was it a?
He doesn't even ask any clarifying questions. Like, when I heard that, I was like, my first red flag was like, why is this guy locking this girl out of a car? Why is everyone ignoring the fact that he was trying to lock Gabby out of a car, drive the car away? Like, why is everyone ignoring the fact that Brian went into a car, locked her out of her car, and then tried to took her backpack, put her backpack out, and then tried to go away? That's like one part here. I just don't understand why everyone, like all the cops are missing the fact that Brian locked her out of a car and tried to drive away. Like, yeah, like out of her own vehicle, not Brian's. Did they even check the registration of the vehicle? Did they check their driver's license to see who had the registration of her car? Isn't it slightly concerning if you're two traveling people that one of the partners who doesn't own the car is not on this title? He's trying to take her car and leave her. It's so weird.
Defensive maneuver away from her or to get her away from him?
That's a good question. It was unclear what was going on to me, but it did seem like he was. It seemed like he was trying to close off after the vehicle and close things up. It almost seemed like he put that backpack or something on the back of the vehicle. I'm not sure. And then he was stepping in and she was out trying to get in. So maybe,
Okay.
I don't. It was the whole thing was off.
Brian was locking Gabby out of the van. Brian took Gabby's backpack out of the van and then locked the doors so Gabby can't get into the van. And then Brian went into the van.
No, I didn't see anything that was like him taking after her or hitting her or vice versa. It was kind of light and they were almost kind of laughing. And I wasn't sure if they were just joking around. To be honest, but then it got more strange as he was in the vehicle about to drive off.
But you did.
He was about to drive off without Gabby in not his van. And he's locked her out of her own van. If someone was trying to take my van that had all of my things in it and I had all of my stuff, not just my backpack, but like my life, I think I would freak out too. And I would probably be fight or flight trying to like stop that person from taking off with my life.
See her slapping him though, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was like, my memory is he was in the driver's seat and she had the driver's door open and she was like kind of hitting him, either in the arm or hitting on the face. Maybe with an open hand, like, hey, let me in, don't be in here, something like that.
Okay.
She's hitting the car, asking him to let her into the car. If you were locked out of the van and your significant other was refusing to let you into the van, which, by the way, is the van that you own and is not owned by your significant other, and you're just trying to hit the car to get back into your van.
Well, you know, your story is really, really helpful because you're an independent witness, and we've just interviewed both of them, and what you're saying is making everything make a lot of sense. So I really part of it is but that still does not eliminate the first court appearance, and it's still going to show up. Either way.
We've seen that conversation. There's nothing different here. Okay, so here's the part where he's like explaining to her that he has to charge her.
But the stuff you did today that contributed to this, because you both contributed to this, is as a result of your inability to cope with the anxiety and the stress that you're having. So in a way, you're kind of a victim of this.
It's your fault you weren't able to cope with the fact that your boyfriend tried to steal your car and lock you out of your car and abandon you and leave you in Utah. It's your fault you couldn't cope with his abuse. She just looks so sad there.
I think you would have done better if you had the skills to do better. But you don't learn skills until
he assumes it's anxiety. She's been abused.
Learn skills, and you don't have enough life experience yet to know how to navigate everything. Like, I don't either, but I can navigate.
You're so ignorant. You don't have the skills to know how to do things. This is so discouraging and so disappointing that anyone would say this to somebody.
What happened? If I was in your shoes, I could handle it different because I'm 39 years old. I've been through it. But I've got a lot of life lessons to learn still because I'm like my dad and my grandpas, they know stuff I don't know, right? They can do stuff I don't know. So in a way, I'm just letting you know we sympathize with you. But based on what you've said and based on what our witnesses said, and even based on what your fiance has mentioned, trying his very hardest not to have you in any trouble, he does have marks on him that witnesses say were caused by you slapping him. And that even you say you slapped him and were aggressing him first. And I don't have anyone saying that he actually punched you aggressively. It sounds like it was shoving in a manner that was probably more consistent with trying to prevent you from entering the van or to get space from you, not to assail you.
Why was she hitting him? Why didn't they ask her why she was hitting him? What was he doing? He was trying to take her van. He was trying to leave her in Utah. He was making her feel like her job wasn't important, that she had no right to spend time in a coffee shop, to make a video and to create content because Brian wanted to go on a hike. And this cop just wants to end this situation and find a resolution as fast as possible.
Does that make sense? So, if the tables were turned and he was beating on you and you were shoving him, of course we're going to look at it like, oh, of course he's defending himself to get away from this guy. Well, we're kind of looking at it the same way with him, and we have to treat both fair, even if he's a bigger male and you're a smaller female. The law doesn't say, hey, Officer Pratt and Officer Robbins, you can treat people different based on gender under the same. So we can, even if it makes no sense that you probably could not physically destroy this man the way that he could if he attacked you. We can't treat you different, okay? So all that long-windedness I'm giving you right now is leading up to the fact that if I pull someone for speeding, I have the right to give them a warning. I have something called
Okay, here's where he explains that he cannot let them go. He has to cite them. He has to cite one of them, and instead he doesn't. He doesn't cite either of them. He wanted to get this done. He wanted to get this off the books. He wanted a resolution. It didn't matter if it was he didn't want this to take forever, you know? It's not up to him to solve other people's marital problems. No, it's not.
Officer discretion. But in the legislature in Utah, they have made a law that if we have a domestic assault, they don't trust the police to make good decisions because too many cops have made bad decisions. So they say, we're not going to give you discretion. We're going to write a law that says if you have a domestic assault, whether it's male on female or female on male, whoever the primary aggressor is has to be charged. No choice. You don't get to give them a warning. Doesn't even matter if you barely heard it all and the guy doesn't want to press charges or the girl doesn't want to press charges. We don't have a choice.
He flat out said that cops make bad decisions and they have to press charges. So he's going to go on and make a bad decision.
We literally have no choice. He does not want to press charges. He says, you guys are a team. He does have marks on him. The witnesses a warning. I have something called officer discretion. But in COVID happened, they switched all the court from in person to online. So when I go to court now,
I have a ticket for the car. Something, please, because we're okay. Like, we're just.
I understand, but we don't have any, like, listen, if I had any discretion.
She wants a traffic ticket so that she doesn't have to come back to Utah because she doesn't want to go to court.
I would separate you guys for the day and just give you warnings and stop hitting each other. But I lawfully don't have discretion here. I don't have any.
Because somebody said something, like a witness said something.
There's two witnesses. And then there's what you said and what he said. And guess what? It all matches nicely that you were the primary aggressor and that the injuries he has were caused by your aggression towards him. Even if he doesn't feel hurt, even if he doesn't want to press charges, there's nothing any cop can do about it. It's written into the law. Normally we take people to jail, but he's trying to work it so you can just have the van. Tomorrow,
I don't want to be separated.
you have anxiety?
Yeah, no, we're a team, please.
There's not? What is it?
No, like, we're a team, please. It's going to give me so much anxiety. Give me so much a driving
Okay,
ticket.
the very best thing I can do is call my supervisor.
She's like self-soothing and she's so scared. She doesn't want to be alone from him. She says, we're a team. We're a team. Like, he has made her feel so dependent on him, so incapable of making choices without him. She's like scared to be away from him. They're in a very codependent, toxic relationship. Like, we're a team. We're a team. I can't be away from him. Like, I don't want to be separated. It's going to give me so much anxiety.
See if I'm missing something here.
I'll pay any driving ticket, a parking ticket, anything.
Okay, Gabby, try to calm down and I'm going to go call a supervisor. But I don't think that there's much I can do, but let me see if a supervisor can tell me something I'm missing to make this not happen.
I can't handle that.
Okay, just give me a minute.
I can't be alone. And then they go and talk to the person and they basically say if she didn't try to hurt him. You've seen the rest of the stuff. He talks to the supervisor and he tells them about this loophole that if she didn't intend to hurt him, and if it was more like just she was doing it as a way of like, as a means to like get him away from her or that kind of thing, then it's no longer like domestic abuse. And then they decide to just separate them. And he's groomed her to believe that she has to be with him, but any separation would mean a heightened possibility that he could retaliate and really hurt him. This is why people ask, why don't they leave? Right. He makes her feel like he can't live without her and that they can't live without each other. It's just so sad. It's so obvious that she's been hurt by him and they just He had defensive wounds. Yeah, she was trying to defend herself. I think the part that really stuck with me the most was just when she said, like, I can't be away from him. I'll have so much anxiety. I can't be separated from him. We're a team. We're a team. Like it's been drilled into her by him that like they cannot be apart because he does not want her to be with anyone else, which matches what her best friend said about how he will do whatever he can to get control over her, that he never wanted her to be away from him, that he wanted to have her all to himself. He didn't want her to work. He didn't want her to have friends. He only wanted her. He went on the van trip so he could isolate her. And she's so isolated and she's so disconnected from anything else that he has convinced her that like that's all she has. It's so sad. These are my opinions, of course. It's so sad. Yes, it's what narcissists do. They did not treat her like an adult. They treated her like a child, and she responded in a childlike way where she was never able to collect herself. So, so sad. Thank you for your super chat. Codependent relationships at young ages are very hard when you're alone together with that person they have been in a long, exactly, very true. They need to have officers do training and with social workers, especially during times right now. I didn't see her call anyone, but I don't know. I didn't see her call anyone. So there are so many opportunities here where they could have done so much more to help Gabby, and they just didn't. And it's sad. And you know, I don't know if these officers, you know, like I said, I initially watched this and I felt sympathy. I thought like, oh, he's being empathetic because he's like saying all the right things. But then when you like really listen to what he says, he's so condescending to her. Like this officer is almost treating her like she's crazy too. Like Brian's telling the officers she's crazy. And then this officer's like, yeah, you're crazy. Clearly you're crazy. I mean, you both are crazy and you can't be together. It's not good for you. So sad. He was definitely making it her fault. She probably was covering up that bad behavior for a very long time. You are correct. So super, super upsetting. And this makes me so angry, especially knowing what ended up happening to Gabby. She was the victim. Yeah, she was for sure the victim. And she probably wanted to take blame because she was afraid that if he got in trouble, that would escalate things even more. I'm sure the passive thing that she would do is try to not get him angry and take blame for everything, because that's what you do. Like, well, I don't want to get him mad. It's so sad. I don't know if this would have prevented her death. You know, you don't know that. It's so hard. You can't say that. They had an opportunity to offer resources and she didn't get any. I wish she would have had the opportunity to speak to a social worker, maybe provided resources. They knew that she was struggling with her health mentally, and they just made her go out in a van by herself. There's so many questions here that I don't understand why they made these choices. Yeah. He did care more about his injuries. She had a scratch all like through her face and bruises on both of her arms. So I don't know what's going to happen. The police chief went on unexpected leave. And so there's obviously things that are going to be going down in Moab. And I don't know long term what this means, but I do hope that there's changes. I hope there's changes. I don't know that I have hope because this is Utah, and Utah is very conservative and very patriarchal, and women are not necessarily treated the kindest, specifically in some of the most conservative sects of religious communities. And I think that permeates just the whole mentality of how women are treated. I just feel like she was never given a chance to like be treated like an adult. Yeah, they do need to have mental health professionals. Like they need to have someone like a social worker, someone that can help. Or like if they see she's having an anxiety attack, why not take her to the hospital? I mean, right? Like go to the hospital. They said in their words that it was a mental health crisis. Well, if you believed it was a mental health crisis, why didn't you take her to the hospital? You know, like that's my thought. Like if you feel like she's having a lot of anxiety, maybe take her to the hospital or take her to the doctor. Like there was so many other options they had here. It's so sad. No, none of the officers have said anything publicly. The chief of police is on leave. He took a leave. They haven't I don't know if the female had body cam footage. If they had body cam footage of the female, I would love to see that. I would love to have seen how she spoke to her. Yeah, and if her mental crisis caused this, then why are they blaming her? Exactly. She could have gotten evaluations at the hospital. It's just so many opportunities missed. Yes. They won't release it. She did. She spent the most time with Gabby, I think. So anyways, thank you for hanging in there with me. I know the first like 15 minutes were kind of a mess because I was waiting for the notifications to work. I'm apologizing if you watch this on replay. I wanted to make sure that I had as many of you here as possible that wanted to watch this live. I know so many of you enjoy these lives, and I know that so many of you have wanted to have a space where you could chat and talk along with your thoughts and feelings about how this case is making you feel and what you're going through. And I just want to remind you guys that all of you that are invested in this case to do something for yourself too. Make sure that you're taking care of your own mental health. Make sure that you're decompressing and disconnecting from this. Yesterday I disconnected by watching the documentary on Britney Spears. I know that's another heavy topic, but it was different. So it was a way to disconnect from this. And then sometimes I just spend time with my son, who makes me laugh and, giggly. And he was playing in costumes. So try to find a way, even if you're invested in this, to get away from all the heaviness, if you can. And just be kind to people when you're interacting with them. It's a very hot topic. It's a very heated topic, and it has a lot of, it elicits a lot of very strong reactions. And so make sure that when you're interacting with people about this, you remember that everyone's coming from a place of heightened emotions, right? When they're dealing with this and when they're invested in this, we all are feeling heightened emotions. We all want justice for Gabby. We all are heartbroken that she was killed. We're angry. We wish these cops would have done more. We're mad at the Laundries. We're angry at Brian for being on the run. We're mad at Northport police. We're just mad. Everyone is mad. Everyone wants justice. And the first feeling usually is anger, right? The first superficial feeling we feel is anger. And I think for a lot of us, we're just feeling sad and hurt and grieving. And I think it's okay to recognize that it's okay to be mad, but you can't stay in that anger. So be nice to each other. And I hope that this just is a more dialogue about what domestic violence looks like, what narcissistic abuse looks like, and what patriarchal policing looks like, and ableism in policing. Thank you for keeping this real and not gossip column and sticking to the facts. Yeah, we're not going to do, you know, there was that fight outside of the house yesterday, and I was like, I'm not going to go into the gossip here. I'm not interested in a neighbor fighting with this person. Like, that's none of my business. That's the circus around this story. I don't care. I want justice for Gabby, and that's what I want. And I hope that's what you want too. It's triggering too, and nice to have a place where people can understand what DV is. Yeah. I know that there's so many survivors that are watch this channel, and I know I've been open with my story, with my relationship when I was, you know, in my early 20s. I think it was for a 4-year relationship. And I've spoken about that, and I've spoken about going to therapy and having to go to therapy. And I've been very open about my own journey with that. And so I think that's fostered a lot of other people in this community to feel like connected, and they can share their stories. And, you know, it's scary when you share your story, because there's always people out there that don't believe you or will use your story against you. And you just have to be strong and resolute and know that if you share your story, you might be able to help someone, and you might be able to help someone realize that they don't have to stay in that situation, and they can get out and they can get help. And so if you are in a situation like that, just know that there's help available. There is a 24-hour hotline. There's a National Domestic Abuse Hotline. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You do not have to stay in a situation like this. You don't have to be abused. If you stay, nobody's going to be angry with you. We know how hard it is to leave. We know that it can take like 10 times for a woman to leave. And we also know that the most dangerous time is when a woman leaves. So if you need help, there is a 24-hour day hotline. Let me get you the phone number. One 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. If any of you are in chat that are struggling, that need help, there's so many options out there. And there's so much help out there. Yeah, it takes on average 7 times, I said. And if you are dealing with it, there's so much shame. And I know, like, I was thinking about this because everyone said that, like, all of people around Gabby said that, like, she never said anything, and everyone thought they had the perfect relationship. And I just kept thinking about myself and what I went through. And I can't speak for everyone, but I know that I didn't tell anyone. I told no one about what was going on in our relationship. I didn't tell anyone what he was doing. I was ashamed, but I also didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was okay and what wasn't okay. I didn't understand boundaries. I didn't know what the red flags were. I didn't know until I went to therapy And then I learned what was okay and what was not okay and what boundaries were. And I learned about the wheel of abuse and the power circle. The power circle changed my life. But I didn't tell anyone. I told no one what was going on. And I'm still 17 years removed, 16 years removed. And I still have so much shame about what he did to me because I feel like I caused it. Like I still feel like I'm responsible for it in a weird way. So just because someone tells you that everything's fine doesn't mean that everything is fine. And there isn't shame. So it does get better. It does get better with age. It gets better with time. It gets better with therapy. It gets better learning how to love yourself and how to set boundaries. And yeah. But what happened to Gabby is unfortunately a reality that happens to many. And it's something that needs to be talked about more. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Again, do something for yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you haven't if you haven't watched the new documentary on Netflix about Britney Spears, I would recommend that. If you want a shorter, if you want a docu-series, check out Lula Rich. And if you just want some silly goofiness, I always recommend Gilmore Girls. So you guys, thank you so much. Have a good night. And if you're struggling, don't hesitate to call the number tonight. All right. Bye, guys.